everybody needs to know this by law. But this is the most watched movie in the history of Netflix.
Yeah!
Winner of a Grammy, winner of everything under the sun, an amazing movie. So we'll give it a big round of applause to Guillermo. Now, we can do the primer first, how it started and all that stuff. Sure. But I really am very compelled by the things that you guys devised, technically and artistically, for this movie.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me how it started? I mean, what it is obviously it's a love letter to Korean culture, a love letter to fans, to music, to art. But tell me a little how it started and when it hit the shit hit the fan. How did it from Netflix, whatever you want. You guys agree?
Sure. I'll just keep it a little short. I'm obviously Korean. I was born in Korea, and my entire career I just wanted to work on something Korean, and I waited a long time for something.
With those fans on DreamWorks?
Yes, even at DreamWorks. So I started at DreamWorks, and I saw Guillermo a lot because he was at DreamWorks quite a bit.
What is the fucking machine?
Great lunch. I mean, that was
Great
one of the reasons why I stayed. But it was a great education, you know, like went to a lot of your lectures, learned so much from you and just fellow filmmakers, and Chris was there as well, but we didn't really have, we knew of each other, but we never overlapped. But I guess, you know, just coming out from DreamWorks, you're kind of taught how to make movies kind of like this, where you're thinking about a global audience, you're thinking about scale, you're thinking about world building.
In another way, it was a great culture.
It was.
Like it was not purely focusing on art, but it was a great animation culture.
Yes.
Yeah, the camera.
High expectations.
Yes. High expectations. Yeah. On the global stage.
Yes.
And so it was really like taking everything that I learned from kind of growing up there, and wanting to see something Korean and mashing all these different ideas together, different tones that I really wanted to see in the movie, and ultimately it became this love letter to all the things that you just said, but from both of us.
Now, how did you guys finally got together? The cute need of creation. How did it happen?
So
What is our cute need?
I was walking down an alley.
You dropped an apple.
I think that sort of the matchmaker in a strange way was my producer on my first movie, Aaron Warner. Produced all the Shrek movies, same
Woo!
game frameworks, amazing.
Great guy.
Amazing.
Shrek.
Great producers.
Yeah, very good. And I had done my first movie, and that had done really well on Netflix. And so Sony was like, "Let's make another movie. What do you want it to be?" And I had all my ideas. And then Aaron said, "You should hear about this idea that Maggie has." And so we met up for lunch, and I was trying to play it cool, but within 15 minutes, all those other movies I wanted to make just flew out of my mind.
That is really important for me to hear because obviously you could have been drunk on the bullying of your own success. Well, you were absolutely artistically so pure that you went, I can't go nowhere. I can't do something.
So it's the only way. These are too hard. Yeah.
They are, well, yes, I agree.
And I had people like Maggie's husband, Brad, who's an amazing writer, board artist, and director. He was my head of story on Wish Dragon. And that movie was considerably better than I ever could have made it because of him and other key talent. That's how animation works. So I think seeing an amazing idea and then personally, two important things. I'm a musician from when I was a kid. So I saw this as an opportunity to really tell a story with music that Maggie and I clicked around. The more important one is that my wife of 20 years is Korean. And so I told her about this movie, and she said, "If you don't make this movie, don't do it."
Very long time we were looking for a director, but I was also like, I can do this by myself. Thank goodness I didn't. That's something I would have been able to do.
But precisely when was the moment when you crossed the barrier of sound and said, I should do it together?
Well, I had met a few other contenders, and we were really looking for another one of me, like a female Korean director, and there really isn't anybody else. And then there's very few
The statistics are
women,
low.
but there's very few female directors too in animation, and so. So we went down a list of people, and because Chris's wife is Korean, I knew that he was slowly being turned Korean on phone. It felt like a really good fit, but
And training.
yes, Korean training with training wheels. But there's a shorthand with the way that we talk about things, and I don't have to explain to him why something is important to me.
It's also at the end of the day, having co-directed Pinocchio with Mark was so much the opposite of it.
Yes.
And that's why it works.
Yeah.
And there's I think we had this great experience of one person writing part of the scene and feeling that's pretty good, and then the other person would add either comedy or a moment of pathos or something, and he would just read and be like, well, shit, that's now twice as good. So that other person saw the movie the same, but also added their own insight to it. That you could have locked me in a room for 2 weeks and I wouldn't have cracked that joke or that line. And once you get into that flow, it feels incredibly inefficient to do things by yourself. Like the movie is so much easier to make with these two brains being bouncing.
And then it starts at Sony, right? And it goes through basically most of all the production process there. And then what happens? And then you're going to explain in legal terms.
Well, actually, the green light didn't come with Sony; it came with Netflix.
Uh-huh.
So we knew that when we were starting, past pre-production, or actually past the development.
But it was ready to begin.
Yes, it was ready to begin, and that's when it began with Netflix. So we already knew that it was going to be on the streaming platform, which we felt like was a good. I mean, that was during COVID. It was at the kind of the tail end of COVID.
So when Maggie and Graves animation,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's very interesting to me this because I as I've said repeatedly, and to you guys as well, and everybody that is in love with animation, that it is a medium and it should be pushed. And most of the people with money are conservative.
Yeah.
And they look back and they want to make it by hook or by crook for kids. And they make it young, and you're pushing so much good stuff. And unfortunately, when you do something this successful, this bold, immediately for them, it's an exception. But this could be, in many ways, the way animation is done.
Totally.
Yeah, so
Woo!
this is what I want to know in terms of this or that, but creatively, your choices are very bold. So, first of all, technically, you guys developed a very interesting system that is sort of the combination obviously of 2D and 3D. But first of all, to manga effect, but also the way you rig the characters, which allows for slightly faster animation and a lot of different flexibility. I know this may be too geeky, but you want to talk a little bit about it. I think it's really interesting for me when you come from the ranks. You know where to press.
Yeah.
So things don't cost that much, but look really great. So, can you guys talk a little bit about that?
I mean, we will try. I think our obviously our head of animation and our our CG suits can speak to the technical stuff of it a little better than.
But expressively.
But yes, so we decided to go do an animation style that's on twos, which means two every 12 frames.
12 frames, 24, yeah.
And that allows us to be a little bit more snappy. And
But you need a lot of Pinocchio too.
yes, which I noticed, and because it allows you to just have more contrast when you go from pose to pose, and so it allows you to be a little bit more snappy. And for me, I think it is a way to do comedy a little better.
And the manga fluctuation.
Yes.
For expressions in 3 seconds.
Yeah. So, and then for the dancing too, because we wanted the dancing to be very quick movements. And so we relied on that timing. And then in terms of the kind of the rigs and the faces that we did, we wanted to really push comedy, which was really important, not just for the sake of comedy, but because the movie is about showing all aspects of a female character. And one of the aspects I really wanted to push for is like very silly. And we on the production use the word stupid a lot because
Which I think a good, it's a good word to be.
yes, because it's beyond silly. It's gotta be stupid.
Yeah.
Real dumb, because that is the whole point of their relationship, is that the more stupid you could be in front of somebody, the more intimate you can be with that person.
And the more the serious part of the narrative, I mean, every great comedy trio has three stupids that one of them thinks it's fun.
Which one does that mean?
In this instance, what I like is that one of the things that is very hard on fiction is people sanctify femalehood and make it impermeable to any emotion or anything silly. And I think giving yourself the license to be flawed, to be shamed, and to be stupid is actually a really compelling decision.
Yeah, and I think it's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie is couch, couch, couch. Because that's your one chance in the first maybe half an hour to really see what's Rooney is this Birkin character, is demon patterns and shame and lots of heavy stuff. And she's very persistent. She has a motor. She's trying so hard, working really hard. Which is an interesting character, but it's a little dry, And in that moment when she's being all goofy and coming up from the couch, and there's a moment of kind of shared history with those girls. That's actually what you're rooting for in the movie. You're not really rooting for the world to be saved. You want these three girls to be able to go to the fucking couch and be themselves. With all the stuff standing in the way. And that moment came pretty late, and I think it was really pivotal for just liking her as a human and not just a protector.
Well, one of the things I love is that they can also implicitly be crows.
Yeah.
There's a lot of suppressed burping and a lot of body functions that are simply assumed by the nutritional balance.
Do they have nutritional balance? I don't think they do.
I use that loosely. But the other thing, I mean, there are so many things. This is a remarkable movie. I love this era we're talking about when you start this. It's a moment in which animation always for me goes from a moment of hope to complete dismay. And it's like the 4 years in government, and that was particularly a golden moment. Greg and Melissa, Sony was being very bold.
Yep.
They were on the Spider-Verse final third or whatever it was, and I thought we were going to enter a golden era of animation. I really did, and that's stupid. I thought this is it. We're going to break the sound barrier. Very with my lesson, but it's a moment that emboldens you guys to experiment a lot. But the fight scenes, I would like to talk about how when we did Blade 2, I said when we were talking to them again, I said it has to be like a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, or like an American in Paris. They have as much dance as the dance numbers. And the dance numbers have as much fight scene snappiness as that. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, it was so much. It's scary. I think one of the things that the fight sequences all had a musical spine. And what was nice about that was we could temp with music. And we could find places for, even in storyboarding, which we try not to be too detailed with, try to be broad strokes. So we're not animating it, but even in the storyboards, find ways to line up the emotion of the music and the punctuation of the beat with action. So even at a storyboard level, the song and the action are kind of intertwined and they're landing in moments and then separating and being freeform and coming together. And that takes some time of just, we have a really great editor, Nathan Schauf, who also has a really musical ear. And we had done some work with other editors, and it was a real struggle because they they didn't feel the visuals and this music as in a kind of baby driver synchronicity.
That
He really did. And as soon as he got hold of sequences, they started to sort of dance with the music. And then you take that to animation, and now you get to get into the finer details, but you still have this kind of like
Who was the editor?
Nathan Schauf.
I mean, I think it's remarkable because in animation, most of the time, you end up with the animatic or the story. And if you get a really good editor, you end up with this, which is beautiful.
And we also had an amazing, his name's Oren Jacobi, he's an amazing music editor. And he would take, let's get real dirty. He understood music so well that he could, let's say, the hardest thing with those scenes was they needed to work as scenes, which has its own set of demands. They needed to live on a musical grid, basically, in order to have musical coherence. So sometimes you'd be like, oh, we need Mira and Zoe to say this line right here. And the editor would be like, well, the song has to keep going down. He's like, we can't just stop. So Oren would create like a little musical breakdown that would buy us, whatever, 2.5 seconds. And the song would chug along and then start back up again. All so that we could land our little story point within the context of the song. So there was like a mathematician on two sides of it in order to make it work. That's a very special song.
The takedown scene is exactly like a lot of that, because they're like writing the song and we're integrating story into it as the track is still going.
I mean, there's so much intelligence in the narrative of this film. There's so many decisions that are condensing and expanding into the. I mean, there's intimate scenes that are shot beautifully wide and very because the problem is a story reel. If you don't have a story department, they're going to try to plus everything. And this is plus in a beautiful way. You base it really beautiful. Now, I want to talk to you about Kung Fu Panda. To me, Jennifer Yu Nelson is one of the great action directors I have ever met in 30-something years of producing and directing. Did you find any kinship with Jennifer that served you on this one?
You know, I worked with Jen, but not too long, you know. But I mean, I wish I had, because she is incredible.
She is, yeah.
Yeah, I was only on.
Sorry, you
Canada's
both.
like 6 months. Did you?
I'm here on a Sunday, not because I have nothing to do. I could be on my Pilates. So, did you see any musicals or any martial arts movies as reference or as inspiration?
No musicals.
No musicals.
Yeah.
Because we were kind of like, I mean, to be very honest, we are not fans of musicals. We don't.
It happens.
Yeah. It's just we don't like the musical kind of, you know, thing of characters bursting into a song. It works well in animation, but in live action it doesn't, you know.
Well, it's also really, in a strange way, the fusion of Broadway and animation has done a lot for good and for bad.
Yes.
Storytelling. So your decision is perfectly understandable.
Yes. And then because we knew that this was going to be pop music, that also has never been done before. Pop music integrated into the story and songwriting.
Yeah.
And involving those writers into this process was like a total shock to them. I think we tricked everybody into this animation process where we iterate so much, and they're not used to that process in pop music. So.
But you guys integrate choreographers.
Yeah.
Musical choreographers.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of I think so much of the ethos of the movie was, this movie is meant not really to live next to animated movies, definitely not kids' movies. If anything, it's like it belongs in the world of K-pop. And so we use real K-pop choreographers, several that we made relationships with in Korea, and they would look at the sequences in the storyboard stage, and they would send us video references of their choreo, and we would cut and paste that as editorial. And then the animators would build off of that and oftentimes have to improvise to connect stuff. But I think the whole ethos of the movie was sort of trying to, the characters, the costumes, the tone, trying to do things that we hadn't seen in animation that we were waiting to see, and people weren't doing it, so we're like, well, I guess we should try. And then I think even, especially with the music part of it, there's actually a real, from writing, the value of being purposeful and concentrated in how you write, efficiency of scene. There's a real shared DNA between Broadway writing, which is very precise and purposeful and story forward, and good pop song writing, which is like, you don't have a lot of time and a lot of words. And the thing we were trying to do is how do we get the depth of story that the Broadway music has, but keep the language and the sort of the more metaphorical version of those words in a way that still was a pop lyric. So you weren't being so literal, but you were actually using every inch of the song to tell a story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And there's one floating influence on Korean cinema that I found very interesting. Maybe it's my imagination. But one of the things I most admire of Pachangu or Bong is how they seamlessly flow from pure drama to pure comedy to a flying kick in the face. And there's that will in the movie to say we can do all those things at once and it's not a problem. You know what I'm talking about?
No, that's where we bonded is over those films, like over there, the host specifically.
But this comes to, to me, the message to the animation industry at large is, why is this successful? Why is Korean cinema successful? Why is this? Because people are tired of the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
When you engage with your movie, it doesn't tackle, it tackles young adult concerns. It doesn't have to be namby-pamby or catered to, only the story of a child. And, it is really tackling angst that you get as a young person going to adulthood in a really, really beautiful way, because it allows you to be stupid, it allows you to be different, and it allows you to be good at what you do. Now that is a blessing. Would you want to talk a little bit about the characters and how you came to that trio?
I think we made this movie for ourselves now, but also our 12-year-old selves.
Yes.
So I think that's
It's a complicated age.
Yes. Well, the character of Rumi, especially for an animated movie, it felt like this opportunity to not have one of the characters be part demon. And so when we did that, we started to think about, inner demons. We just think about, demon hunters, inner demons. And when we went down that road, it felt like, a main character with her own inner demons being a little demon could be an interesting story.
And part of becoming an adult is stop fighting who you are.
Yes.
And become who you are.
Yes. But then we're still fighting. The demons never go away. There's things about you that you don't like, but some things are impossible to erase.
Yes.
And so that is the story that we really made of and found different ways to tell that story.
But you guys did it on both sides. One of the great things about the antagonist is that your worst act doesn't have to be your last act.
Yeah.
You can correct your past.
Yeah, we felt like the bomb.
I cried, by the way.
Yeah.
One of the things we committed to with the idea of inner demons was to make it about, keep the targets something about you that you can't change. So the way Rumi is born is the way she can never change it. You did a terrible thing in the past, you cannot go undo that. So what do you do when there are parts of yourself, deep vulnerabilities and things about yourself that you feel like damaged or wrong, that you will never be able to change? How do you cope with that? And Kima's philosophy is like, I know what to do with those. Those are vulnerabilities. That's right. Yeah.
Scratch them.
Yeah, I'll just twist them and control you or split you apart. And then what Rumi finds is a counterpoint to that, which is like, this shit can bring us together. The fact that I have vulnerabilities and you do too, we can get under the scary thing of letting someone else in there. That actually brings us closer. There's a great poet, it's James Baldwin, who was a great civil rights author who wrote about.
Film writer, too.
Yeah, amazing writer. And he said it was I forget exactly, but he said it was books in which I learned that everything that had tormented me in my life, which I thought was singularly mine, I suddenly realized through books that that was what connected me to everyone else in the world who had ever been alive. So there's that kind of shared humanity once you get in there and find those vulnerabilities. And pretty much every part of the movie is tweaked in order to serve that, sometimes in funny ways, but that's really the spine of it, sort of thesis on it.
Remember the thing that director Porchano said at the Cal event? Yeah, because one of the best things about this whole tour is just being on tour with him and getting to know him, and he makes such like messed up movies, and he's the sweetest man. And at this event, he was giving a speech about addressing that, and he said, I truly believe that it is through the showing somebody's darkest parts is how you can get to know them the best. And so he will continue to do that because that's.
I think that aside from the role that social media plays actively on the tracking of the songs, to me the main devil is social media. That giant mouth telling him that he can erase his past, promising to keep the shame secret. Because I think that everybody now lives afraid, and I think it's extremely liberating when he takes an action against that. Is also one of the things that I wanted to talk about, if it's conscious or not, you fuse a superhero aesthetic, the building, the way they find their dresses. It's like the Batcave,
Yes.
or the Baxter building from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
But you elevated Volkswagen to something where you can live very normal, but exist in a hyper-normal world.
Yes, they have a lot of money.
To my eye, they use it very well. And you have a secret building out there. But the language of the film is of somebody that is extremely, two people that are extremely fluid about pop language, comics, Korean film, martial arts, but the curiosity and the love for everything, food, rest, interaction with fans. It's a movie that feels like a rush. But how long was the process of production actually?
Well, for me, it was 7 years from pitching the idea to the release date, almost to the day.
Only six.
God bless you.
Now, the thing that I would like to ask you is, are you going to keep working together? or existing in a collegiate way? Like, I think animation is one of the places where you can be very collegiate.
Yes.
And invite each other to the editing room to read the script.
I mean, honestly, if Chris wasn't around, I don't know what I would do. I asked him about everything, even like life things. So, it's been I mean, he's like my brother. We've been working on this, and there's things that you go through together that even our spouses don't understand because we're together in this.
Animation is a
Yes.
brutal medium.
It is.
It's like a crash in very slow motion.
It is. It is. And at the end, you're alive, but you're like a shell.
But what's left of it?
You're like a crash test dummy.
Definitely, taking that analogy, there are definitely moments where you see the crash coming, some part of production, Maggie and I look at each other. Oh, it's gonna hurt. Oh, yeah, they're like, but that does bond you, and I think you develop like a I don't know, a deep respect for that other person's brain and their ability to surprise you and fill in the things that you couldn't catch, and also sometimes just see through. I think that was one of the biggest bonds we had, was like, we just refused to ever not give it our all. So every night of the weekend for 6-7 years. But that other person willing to sit with you on the Skype call at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night and write the scene until 1 in the morning. It's that's the ultimate proof of your partnership. It's just willing to show up and continue to work.
I couple now all over the world. Interacted with people that love animation, people that make animation. What is the salient thing you feel? We'll talk in a minute about how you felt when the good shit hit the good fan. In your travels, have you seen young people, animators, older animator generation? Who each of you give me your impression? Because I do think your film changes things. I have to say, I'll abandon that at the end, but please tell me your impressions.
I do feel like people were waiting for a movie like this, and we felt it even before the movie came out, because this is a weird idea. And so even the
Which
first,
is a great idea.
which yes, and
Weird ideas
I
are
do
great.
I know that now, and so I tell students, if you're not scared, then you're probably not going far enough.
Yeah.
And
It's not worth it.
it's not worth it.
If you're not gonna fuck shit up,
You're spending so much time into whatever, like animation is a labor process. So you need to believe in it before you start and the entire way through. And so to do that for 7 years, 6 years is very difficult. But as we started to get other crew members on and other artists, they were the ones telling us they worked just as hard as us, because they knew that this was a different kind of a thing. This was something that they've been waiting to work on. And so we felt that with the crew, and we hear that from the fans that we meet in the crowd. And so yeah, like we tell people, like, you need to be scared.
I agree, and they just showed me a sign that says, please rap. Please, was PLZ. It hurts me. We're gonna run, but if I may pass some more praise on this, I believe that every idea, and the industry exists to create fucking domesticated pets. We exist to create lions or tigers. We exist to create things that are unleashed on the world and have danger and beauty and are not tame, but exist as art needs to exist, which is wild, untamed, and crazy. And not only that, I thank you for that. 5 billion fucking people thank you for that. And I think,